Good to see all of you again. I took a week off to enjoy some time with my parents and some other family that came in for a visit. I continue to get stronger after my 6 week stay in the hospital earlier this summer. It's good to be back. I'm not doing this one in Horns High Studios, as you can obviously see, but this video will be less than 666 seconds or 11 minutes and 6 seconds. So let's get started. Please don't forget, though, before we start, to like the video, drop a comment below, and that gets the video out there to more people. And if you're not a subscriber, please consider doing that before you leave today to help the channel grow. I appreciate that and getting close to 10,000 subscribers. Now, it's important to remember that this video is for entertainment purposes only. These are just my opinions and speculation. I'm not an expert. I'm just using some good common sense to analyze this case. I'm not saying anyone is guilty of anything, and all of what I discuss is alleged. Now, for this episode, I'd like to talk about the crazy case of Sarah Boone and the horrific crime involving the elimination of her boyfriend, Jorge Torres, in February of 2020. She's been in the news quite a bit lately, and this case has fascinated me since it started because it's very unique and poses some interesting questions about our legal system here in the United States. Now, in case there's anybody out there that doesn't know much about the case, I'll give you a quick thumbnail sketch. She was drinking wine with her boyfriend, Jorge Torres, and somehow got into a game of what she called hide and seek. They were both 42 at the time and living in an apartment in Winter Park, Florida. I'm not sure how hide and seek turned into him getting into a suitcase and getting zipped up inside, but that's what she told the police and 911 the next day when she found his body inside. Now, you can hear the 911 call. There's lots of videos here on YouTube where she placed it that following morning. She explains, how she was drinking and passed out, and then woke up the next day and says she didn't realize he was still in there. Now, prior to this incident, there was a history of Sarah doing some crazy stuff, resulting in some violence against Jorge. In 2018, she was arrested for battery and strangulation against him. And though his friends and family urged him to stay away from her, the relationship continued. And to be fair, on 4 different occasions, Torres had been arrested for violence against her. So these two were just like oil and water and should have just gone their separate ways. I think some of us probably know people like this or couples like this. It's just not good. Now, Sarah's story about passing out and waking up to find him in the suitcase fell apart when the police found on her cell phone a damning piece of evidence. She recorded a video of him in the suitcase, begging for her to let him out, and she was taunting him and refused to open the suitcase. It's horrible to watch. He said that it was difficult to breathe, and she makes some comments about him cheating on her. So she was charged with murder and was placed in the Orange County Jail without a bond. So now, to add to this whole train wreck of a story is the fact that Sarah Boone has continuously raised a fuss about her court-appointed lawyers. Each time she demanded a new one, the judge allowed it until after 7 lawyers, she was told, you're going to have to represent yourself. And in legal terms, they call that pro se. So from my time following true crime cases, that never ends well for the defendant. And I'm sure you've heard the phrase, a person who has their own lawyer has a fool for or a person who is their own lawyer has a fool for a client. So not good. Now, since she started representing herself, I've watched some of the pretrial hearings, and it's rough to see her fumbling around. I honestly don't know what she can use as a defense with that video on her phone. I mean, seriously. It's speculated that she'll try the battered woman defense, but with her own criminal history and abuse against Jorge, I'm not sure how well that's going to stand up. I'm just not thinking it's going to end well. I'm sure it differs from state to state, but in Florida, anyone defending themselves does get the use of a laptop in their cell for about 8 hours a day, but there's no internet access. So I get why they restrict that. But by the same token, I mean, I don't see how a person in this day and age can defend themselves without access to the internet, to find experts, to testify in your behalf, and all that kind of stuff. I just don't know how that's possible. So what the court is doing is mailing her documents that she needs. And as we all know, it takes a few days, even if you're in the same town, to get something delivered from one place to the next. So, not to mention that I'm sure the jail slows things down with having to go through the mail. So after watching the hearing that I saw the other day, the judge was referencing documents that she hadn't even seen yet. And it seems like there should be a better way to do this. I mean, maybe a courier to bring the documents to the jail so she gets them faster. I just don't know. Now, in this case, I feel she's guilty as charged. I mean, but we do have that presumption of innocence here in the United States, and she should be given all the tools possible to defend herself. I could see both sides of the argument, and I'd love to know what you guys think about it. Let me know in the comments. Now, she did spend some time in the hearing that I watched going over what she could wear during the trial. She was given the choice of pants or a skirt, and she opted for the skirt. The judge pointed out that the ankle monitor that she's going to have on will be clearly visible with a skirt on. The monitor is something that they can use to control her if she acts out, since she's not going to have handcuffs on. Now, maybe if she wears 2 or 3 pair of black pantyhose, they won't be able to see the ankle monitor. I'm not sure on that, but any ladies want to throw in their 2 cents down below, let me know. Now, the trial is set for October 7th of 2024. So here just in a couple months or so, it will be televised. So that will be an interesting thing to see how Sarah Boone does representing herself. I do hope, though, that Jorge Torres gets the justice he deserves. And while he does bear some responsibility for getting drunk with this woman and getting into a suitcase and letting her zip him up, after he begged to come out and she was the only one to refuse him help, I think, she definitely deserves whatever fate she's going to get here. And I think it's going to be guilty. If this case interests you, though, I've been talking about it with A.R. Hayes on our other channel, Darkness Visible True Crime. And speaking of that, I'm not sure if you knew that I had a new channel with A.R. Hayes, my good friend. Check out the handle on the screen and do me a favor, go subscribe to it, because we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers so we can monetize the channel. We've already done a live so far. It's on there on the replay if you haven't seen it. And our plan is to do 2 lives a week, about an hour a piece. And we're going to discuss current true crime cases. We're going to talk about Idaho 4, Delphi, Alex Murdaugh, Sarah Boone, all the current cases going on, Karen Reed, and so on. You definitely are not going to want to miss that. All right. Comment below with your thoughts. I always love to hear from you guys. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave, though. It helps the channel grow and get me to 10,000. All right. Thanks to my friends in the Horns High Club. You guys are awesome. I sure appreciate your support, and I appreciate everybody that watches these videos with me. And we'll see you next time for another episode of 666 Seconds of Murder.